I am officially hitting the panic button on Bryce Young, and I am searching for answers on how I'm supposed to stay positive about this entire situation in Carolina, because it is seemingly turning into a disaster very, very quick. Ladies and gentlemen, we saw year 3 of the Bryce Young era in Carolina start this past weekend. There was so much hype, so much anticipation coming into this game. This was finally going to be the year that Bryce Young cracked the code in the NFL. The former number 1 overall pick was going to show and play like the top guy in the draft, and this is just not what happened at all on Sunday. And I'm starting to scratch my head and wonder what has gone wrong. We're already in year 3 right now, and it's the same mistakes. It's the same things we're worrying about when we saw him play in his first year. And I'm still wondering what has to go right for this team to figure it out in the draft, figure it out at the quarterback position, because Carolina can't get it done. Now with Bryce Young in year 1, it was always, okay, we're going to give him an excuse because Frank Reich, things didn't work well there. He got an interim head coach. The offensive line wasn't good. He had no receivers. The defense was mediocre. We all understand that. We gave him a pass in year 1, but you still wanted to see some flashes, and they were there. There were some small flashes, but you really had to dig for them because the rookie year was not good at all. So year 2, what does Carolina do? They go out and hire Dave Canales, who was formerly the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was this critically acclaimed offensive mastermind / guru. Everybody felt really good about him and the pairing with Bryce Young. He turned around Geno Smith's career in Seattle. He then really did a good job of helping Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. And this seemed like a really good match between Bryce Young and Dave Canales. Carolina also spent over $100 million on this offensive line. They traded up into the first round to go draft Xavier Legette out of South Carolina. They did the proper things to try and build around this second-year quarterback, who they traded for basically the entire franchise. We all know they gave up this historic haul with DJ Moore, that first overall pick that turned into Caleb Williams, another first-round pick, a second-round pick. I mean, they gave up so much for Bryce Young, and they committed to him when they could have just stayed put and taken CJ Stroud ultimately. But for Carolina, this is now year 2 in the Bryce Young experiment with all of these upgrades. Things don't go well again, and you're sitting here wondering, okay, when are things going to get fixed? The receiving corps still was not good last year. The defense wasn't great at all, but Dave Canales made a huge decision benching Bryce Young in the beginning of the season because things were going so south. This was a massive decision for a rookie head coach to bench a guy that was the first overall pick just a year ago in an organization with an owner who's been known to make a lot of decisions with the franchise in the past. This was a huge decision for Dave Canales to do this, but I ultimately loved it because Bryce Young played so much better in the second half of the year, and he looked like an entirely different quarterback. This offense looked so much better. He looked like he was having fun out there, and you really felt good about this year. You felt that year 3 was going to be the turning point for Bryce Young. They finally had the offensive line that was going to give him some time. They had a receiving core that was significantly upgraded. They spent that 8th overall pick on Teteroa McMillan. You felt like this was going to be the year that Bryce Young would put it all together in year 3. Carolina was going to be competitive. Yeah, the defense was going to be shaky. We knew that, but at least you hit on Bryce Young. And this is just not what happened at all after watching Sunday. And I'm sitting here saying, how am I supposed to have positivity about the Carolina Panthers? How am I supposed to stay optimistic about the Bryce Young era in Carolina? Because Jacksonville doesn't have some powerhouse defense. This is not some top 10 defense in the NFL. They might be a bottom 10 defense in the league. And Carolina scored a touchdown, the first touchdown of their entire season in the fourth quarter. They only had a field goal in the first quarter. They could not do anything offensively the entire game. There was one 4th and goal that really stuck out to me where Bryce Young was rolling to his left. He's got a guy who ends up coming open and he's looking to his left, and this is 4th and goal, and he just throws it out of bounds instead of giving his receiver a chance. And even the commentators are like, what is he doing? it is becoming mind-boggling at this point where you're just like, what is it going to take for Carolina and Bryce Young to figure it out? Because at the end of the day, we've seen so many coaches come into this organization and get fired. It's just been like a massive carousel at this point. Carolina's been investing into this team with the first-round picks. They get Brian Burns, who was a superstar. The Rams offer your 2 first-round picks for him. You say, no, he's going to be the pillar of our defense. We want to keep him. 2 years later, you trade him for a second-round pick and a bag of Cheetos to the Giants. Like, I don't understand what the idea and the identity of Carolina right now. I don't know what they're trying to do. And it's like they've done a good job of drafting around Bryce. You get Ike Ekwonu, the tackle. J.C. Horn's a really good corner. They re-signed him. Derek Brown, first-round tackle. You have Tedderall McMillan, Xavier Legette. But none of this has been able to come to fruition. The rest of the team can't get it done. And for Bryce Young, I'm like, what is it going to take to finally fix this? I mean, the dude was 18 for 35, 150 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 picks. The offense just looked abysmal. When you're getting beat 23-3 in the fourth quarter to the Jacksonville Jaguars in year 3 of this entire operation, you've got to get really nervous. And I'm trying not to overreact too much because it's week 1. I'm hoping that maybe they just came out slow, but Bryce Young played in the preseason a little bit. Like, there should be no reason this team came out there and started this slow. And I'm not saying they should have beat Jacksonville by 45 points or even should have beat them at all. They were 3.5-point underdogs. They should have been competitive. This offense should have looked good. This offense showed nothing. They've shown no improvement from year 1 in the Dave Canales era to year 2 in the Dave Canales era. They've showed no improvement from year 1 in the Bryce Young era to year 3 in the Bryce Young era. 10 points, a garbage time touchdown. This is a problem that has to get solved, and I don't know how it's going to happen because I can already see how this is going to go. If Bryce Young stinks it up again this year, does Carolina fire Dave Canales, a guy who, in my opinion, is a good coach? What are the decisions that are going to have to be made? You sacrificed everything to go up and get him, and now this may just turn into an absolute dumpster fire and a terrible move. Anthony Richardson, he's on year 3 right now. He was taken 4th overall, if you remember. He is on the bench right now for the entirety of this season. Now, Bryce Young has taken a better approach than he has, but still, same draft class. 1st overall pick, 4th overall pick. This is year 3 for Shane Steichen up in Indianapolis. He understands his job is on the line. Now, this is only year 2 for Dave Canales, but when you get to that point where you're like, okay, my job's on the line, I've got to go with a different quarterback. I don't know if you're Carolina and you're Dave Canales, you get to a certain point where this offense is still this bad in a few more weeks. I could see them going back to Andy Dalton just like they did last year for Dave Canales to try and keep his job. You cannot look this bad in week 1 between a play caller and a quarterback. You should not come out and look this slow in week 1. You played in the preseason. You're now in year 3 of the NFL. You're not a rookie anymore. At a certain point, if you're this guy that goes number 1 overall, you've got to make the players around you better. You've got to elevate the team. They've invested the proper weapons around you. There is literally no more excuses for Bryce Young. The offensive line is solid. The receivers, there was a few drop passes, but they drafted 2 first-round guys. How much more help does Bryce Young need? Now, I get it. Tedderall McMillan's got to develop a little bit more, but I think he's going to be a star. He's looked really good so far. It's getting to a point where I just don't know what Carolina does. It feels like this is a make or break year for Bryce Young. Because if you're the Panthers and you get sucked into this trap again where it's year 4 of the Bryce Young experiment and you're like, okay, here we go again. Dave Canales, your job's on the line. Dan Morgan, your job's on the line. Bryce Young, your job's on the line. And if it doesn't work out in year 4, you guys are all gone and it's just the same rinse and repeat cycle for the Carolina Panthers. And the question I'm asking myself too is it's like, do they want to go out and draft a quarterback in the first round this year? Carolina is probably going to be a bottom 5 team in football. They're going to have a top 5 pick. This is one of the best quarterback draft classes that I can remember in a long time. Drew Aller, Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik, Lawrence Sellers. You're going to have so many guys that are going to be looking really, really good, and Carolina is going to be in that range to take one of them. Do they go out and draft a quarterback? Is this the final year that we see Bryce Young in a Panthers uniform? It wouldn't shock me at all if things continue like this. This was an abysmal performance, and I'm trying not to overreact after week 1. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how I'm supposed to have any faith in this Carolina team moving forward. I'm Caden Kubler, and thank you guys for watching.